Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT rostermania. Plenty to discuss today. Ethan to Evil Geniuses is now seeming particularly likely, but also Zellsis explaining why he decided to reject the Sentinels offer and joining Cloud9 instead, largely because he believes C9 will have a better chance to win this season. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Loads of new subs yesterday as well. Let's keep on going. Firstly, Global Esports. Further announcement to happen, we believe, today for their entire team. Probably a new player from a different country is our present understanding. Also, this quickly from Cypher. Apparently, a buff has now been confirmed and a Cypher buff is happening soon. We know Harbor's coming soon, I believe. Harbor might be playable from today or tomorrow, so that's pretty exciting. But yeah, we know full well that there are agents that are very rarely used and need some changes. They've tried with Phoenix and others to make them more viable, and Cypher's kind of fall into that category as well of not being particularly usable right now, so a buff has been confirmed soon, and some tuning to Fade's Prowlers as well, probably to make them marginally less powerful, has also been mentioned going forwards. Now, a few rostermania things. Firstly, according to sources from Flynn and Nguyen, Axedi and cNed are close to being the 6th players for Crew and Leviathan respectively, so they're building their teams. We'll see the entire spreadsheet here in a few minutes time of what the rosters are planning to do. A lot of them in the tier 1 side are pretty much set right now, and it's about locking in a substitute or a 6th man, because yeah, all the teams have to have a 6th man this year. That's mandated by the league. Whether that's just a substitute player that comes in if required, it's like in the Cloud9 case, they've got Cupid as their substitute, but also if he's not required to step in for any reason, he's like kind of a more IGL figure anyway, so he can help in the assistant coach role, like he can help kind of from that aspect of the team also, and probably other teams are thinking along similar lines, or they're going to do an actual 6-man roster where on certain maps they sub one of their substitute players in. That's also an option, and they can have more than 6 if they want to, as other teams I believe have done in the past. Let's talk about FaZe and Evil Geniuses. Once again, FaZe, they're at it again. But yeah, BCJ says, hey, Superman says hashtag FaZe up. Now, we don't know what FaZe's plan is next year in terms of tier 2, if there even is a plan at all, but of course Superman was on FaZe, and we expected him to join Evil Geniuses, but that may no longer happen, as even he says right here, FaZe up, right, and says the same thing to BCJ. 2 players that have, we believe, been in conversation with Evil Geniuses to join in their 2 spots they have open on their team, but maybe neither will now join. As the article comes out from George Geddes last night, Evil Genius is now in discussions to sign Ethan. The deal with Superman could fall through. Negotiations are stagnant between FaZe and EG, so classic stuff in a way from FaZe. And as the article here describes, Busio, Com, Jorgemo, they are staying on the team. Reformed and Apoth, they are gone. That leaves 2 spots open. We thought for a time Superman BCJ could come in. Now it's going to be Superman and Ethan, or maybe it's not going to be Superman at all. Who knows? But yeah, FaZe at it again, baby. But Ethan apparently is now going to come through. He's supposedly going to be the 4th man at least on this roster going forward. It makes sense. As I said, kind of with Ethan and other players as well in a similar boat, if there are offers out there in tier 1, you've probably got to go for it, right? I mean, dappr's maybe in a similar spot. He could be the sub for Sentinels, but if he gets an EG offer, and we believe he either trailed for EG or was at least in brief conversations with them, that may now no longer be the case though for dapr. But if you are a player in that position and you get an offer from at least a tier 1 organization like EG, even if they aren't quite as glamorous as maybe other tier 1 organizations, you've probably got to do it over going to tier 2, because that doesn't really put you in the best position. Look, if you're Ethan, if you're another player and you show up on EG, you might get a spot on one of the real top North American teams if they make changes, and EG can become that in future if they really double down to actually try and build a competitive roster. That I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter what EG do with the core that they have, they're going to be the 5th favorite team for the North American sides, like at least in terms of the 5 NA teams that we have. Where they fit in terms of the entire Americas League, that's still a question. But yeah, so EG, Ethan is apparently going to be a thing now, and whether Super ends up going there or not, who knows, because he's still potentially linked to them, but it's not exactly guaranteed, and we'll see the full spreadsheet here in a second in how this looks. But let's talk Cloud9 and Sentinels. Like George Geddes and myself managed to make a guest appearance here in Zellsis' kind of I'm back announcement video yesterday, but he was talking on stream like what his thoughts were, right, in terms of Sentinels, Cloud9, why was his decision made in the way that it was. He had the consideration between 2 of those spots. Apparently every organization that wasn't 100 Thieves gave him an offer. He also said this on stream last night, that every org that wasn't Nation 100 Thieves offered him a spot. Makes sense really with what 100 Thieves were planning to do, but yes, apparently Cloud9, Sentinels, NRG apparently, maybe early days, and maybe EG as well, offered Zellsis the chance. So he obviously proved himself a lot in that short stint on Sentinels, brings more in terms of his personality as well than just his in-game playing ability, but now his goal is to actually create the most winning team that he possibly can. And he said on stream last night in some reaction to the Cloud9 news that yeah, he weighed up his options. Cloud9 and Sen were the key question marks for him. He's played with Vanity before in the CSGO days and even in the early Valorant days, and really likes the way they play together as an IGL kind of player pairing. And with the rest of the talent that was coming together on Cloud9, he thought that was his best chance of creating a winning team this season.
If we don't win this year, bro, if we don't win this year, I will freak out. Obviously, people know it was either between Sen or C9. The reason why I picked Cloud9 is because I just, like, I love Sen. I love Sen. I love those guys. They gave me a platform to grow myself on. So I'll forever, ever be grateful. Be grateful to those guys. From the players to the staff to the org. But I chose C9 because I felt like C9 had a core of a team. You know, obviously me and Ye are just joining. They had Leaf, Zyppan, and Vanity. I played with Vanity before. I played with him in CS. I played with him in Valorant. I really like how he is as an IGL. I really like how me and him play off each other, like mid-rounding, calling, stuff like that. We kind of see like the same. And then I just felt like here at C9 was more. It was more of a chance or a familiarity thing for me to win. And that was why I chose C9 over Sen. I could have chased a bigger bag elsewhere, but if I look back on my esports career and I didn't win anything, that is like a failure of a career to me. That is like a failure of a career. And I feel like this team is my best chance of winning.
So do you agree with Zellsis' perspective here? I think there's a couple of things to talk about, really. The fact that, firstly, there was chaos going on with Sentinels. They weren't so sure what they were going to do. If Zellsis was coming in, like, what does that mean for the rest of the team? What other players end up being there? Do they get the Brazilian guys? Do they go down a different route? It was probably more uncertain on that front than it was for Cloud9. With C9, he had a good offer. Maybe even though for less money, he seemed to imply that maybe he could have got more money out of Sentinels if he really went down that route. But he thought, you know what, Cloud9, I know what's happening here. They've got a good core 3, a great core 3 of Zyppan, Leaf, and Vanity, players that either he's played with before or have incredible talent and potential, and like he kind of knows what they're capable of, and they're capable of an awful lot, and they were going to get Ye. So in Zellsis' mind, it's like, well, look, I either join that team and play with players that I'm kind of experienced with before, I know what they can do, and I've got great confidence in that we can win together, or go to Sentinels, where probably at the time when he was weighing up the options, it's like, well, do they have TenZ? Do they have, are they even going to get these Brazilian guys? At the time, they were probably in discussions with Marved, and it was kind of unclear who the gel was going to be in these questions. So I think it's understandable that Zellsis thought, you know what, C9 out of the two offers is probably his best chance to get a team that he knows can be at that level. Now looking at the two teams, what do you guys think? C9, Sentinels, like, what is the better squad on paper? It's pretty tough to say. Like, Sentinels have an awful lot of power, Cloud9 also do as well. I think there are some questions for them to answer in terms of the role dynamic and exactly where Dephh fits in and how that works with Zellsis, but also like Leaf and Ye in terms of their respective roles. Ye, of course, going to be on the chamber. Leaf has played that operator role for quite some time in the past, but recently it was kind of more like they were using a Mitch sometimes on that operator, and Ye would just be more like a straight up, like, incredibly impactful rifler type player, which probably is what they're going to do nowadays as well. And have, of course, Ye is going to be on the operator. Leaf has now stepped nicely into that more rifling position. Stick him on the Raze or something like that, and they're going to have a lot of success more than likely. So yeah, for me, I think it makes sense, but interesting words, no doubt, from Zellsis, that effectively he thinks this team has more potential to win, and he's going to be practically mind-blown if they don't win the upcoming season, seems to be his perspective. I think it makes sense. You've got to have confidence in your team, and he wants to win something in his Valorant career for sure. Now, quickly on Sentinels, they did a video last night, Tarek becoming a professional interviewer with Sassy and Pancada, but worthy of note, actually, yesterday Pancada was in the video, but he wasn't yet speaking English. Now, I think he can speak English, but in terms of videos and stuff and confidence, he wasn't so confident doing it, so he spoke spoke in Portuguese, and they did the subtitles and this type of stuff. But yeah, there were some questions around this, right? Because if you're two new players, Sassy speaks fantastically well, but Pancada's learning, and I'm sure in due course he can become good enough in English. But of course, the season starts in February, so he's got a few months away to get it working. But I'm sure that will be a concern for some in terms of in-game communication if Pancada as yet can't really speak English at the level that will be required to communicate effectively with the rest of the team. So like that's another thing with Sentinels as well that's maybe a bit more of a question mark than Cloud9 presently have. Now speaking of Sen, also Dephh kind of does a nice couple of clips last night. Right click more, he says, and even Zekken goes Lord in the reply, so yes, he's coming soon to Sentinels. And even Psycho from Sentinels coaching staff says a similar thing here, and I think even Sassy replied as well. So it's only a matter of time until Dephh is confirmed as the 5th player for Sentinels and we get their full roster announcement and confirmation, although we already pretty much know what's going on. Quickly then from Flynn as we close out the video, the off-season spreadsheets. This being the first and the bigger one for the partnership league as it stands. And as I say on the left-hand side, Ethan is now sitting here and Super apparently alongside Jorgemo, Com and Boostio as well. So maybe both of them will be there, maybe they will not. Most of these other rosters we believe we know, and as we talked about yesterday, you know, Na'Vi with cNed here do seem to be a scary team as well, and something's changing around, but a lot of green on this list because a lot of these things are getting locked in very shortly indeed. The South American region is also looking pretty set in stone as well. This is his tier 2 spreadsheets. These are some of the organizations in North America expected to stay around. TSM, Shopify Rebellion, V1 we believe are still going, but we really have no idea what their team is going to be. Sonics as well, then FaZe are going to stay around apparently. babybay, Poised, Dicey, possibilities, but far from guaranteed. Flyer and Superman apparently are going to be gone. Ghost, The Guard, FlyQuest as well, they apparently are interested in entering. So those are some of the early, very early indeed, North American organizations that are looking to get involved in the Tier 2 Ascension League for next season, and it's very early days in terms of determining what they might do, but apparently Shopify Rebellion may well be building around some of the players they had last year, with, for example, B-Dog not getting signed elsewhere, to our current understanding. But very much interested your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.